1901. The Aegean Sea. A Greek sponge diver surfaced screaming about a pile of rotting corpses on the seafloor. What he actually found was far stranger. Among the ancient bones and marble statues lay a corroded bronze device so advanced that when scientists finally decoded it, they faced an impossible question: how did ancient Greeks build a computer 2,000 years before computers should have existed? The wreck lay 180 feet below the surface near the tiny Greek island of Antikythera. The divers had stumbled upon the richest ancient shipwreck ever discovered. Bronze statues, marble sculptures, gold jewelry, treasures that would fill museum halls for generations. But among all that priceless cargo, one object went almost completely unnoticed. A shoebox-sized lump of corroded bronze, so encrusted with 2,000 years of marine growth that nobody could tell what it was. It sat in a storage room at the National Archaeological Museum of Athens for months before anyone looked closely. And when they did, what they saw made absolutely no sense. Through the corrosion, they could see what appeared to be gears. Precision-cut bronze gears with triangular teeth. But here is where the mystery begins. According to everything historians believed about ancient technology, those gears should not exist. The first scientist to examine the fragments was named Valerio Stais. In 1902, he noticed something extraordinary between the corroded layers. Inscriptions in ancient Greek. And gear wheels with teeth so precisely cut they could only have been made with advanced metalworking tools. Stais proposed something radical. This was some kind of astronomical calculating device. The academic world laughed at him. The idea that ancient Greeks possessed this level of mechanical sophistication seemed absurd. For the next 50 years, the Antikythera mechanism was essentially forgotten. Dismissed as an anomaly. Perhaps a medieval artifact that somehow ended up in an ancient wreck. But Stais was right. And the technology hidden inside those bronze fragments was even more advanced than he imagined. It would take X-ray machines and computer imaging to prove it. But there was another secret buried inside the mechanism. Something that would connect this ancient computer to one of the most famous scientists who ever lived. Now stop and think about this for a moment. We are talking about technology from around 150 BCE. The Roman Republic was still fighting wars with Carthage. Julius Caesar had not even been born yet. And somewhere in the Greek world, craftsmen were building devices with precision gearing that Europe would not see again until mechanical clocks appeared in the 1400s. 1400 years. That is the gap we are dealing with. Imagine finding a smartphone in a medieval castle. That is the level of technological anachronism the Antikythera mechanism represents. So how did ancient scientists decode what this thing actually did? The breakthrough came in 1971 when a British historian named Derek de Solla Price finally got access to X-ray images of the mechanism's interior. What he discovered inside made his jaw drop. There were at least 30 gears working together in an interlocking system of stunning complexity. And they were calculating something very specific. But here is where everything gets truly strange. And I need you to pay close attention to what comes next because this is where most people completely misunderstand the Antikythera mechanism. It was not just calculating one thing. It was calculating everything. The position of the sun. The phases of the moon. The movements of the 5 planets visible to the naked eye. The dates of solar and lunar eclipses. Even the timing of the ancient Olympic Games. All of this from a device you could hold in your hands. But that is still not the most incredible part. The mechanism used a special gear arrangement that modern engineers call an epicyclic gear train. This specific configuration allows you to model something that seems impossible, the irregular motion of the moon across the sky. The ancient Greeks had noticed that the moon does not move at a constant speed. Sometimes it appears to speed up. Sometimes it slows down. And somehow, 2,000 years ago, someone built a mechanical device that accurately reproduced this irregular motion. The question is, who? Many historians believe the Antikythera mechanism has a direct connection to Archimedes. Yes, that Archimedes. The legendary mathematician who calculated pi, invented the Archimedes screw, and supposedly used giant mirrors to set Roman ships on fire. Ancient writers tell us that Archimedes built mechanical models of the heavens. Bronze spheres that showed the movements of the sun, moon, and planets. When the Roman general Marcellus conquered Syracuse in 212 BCE, he reportedly took one of these devices as his personal prize. The connection gets stronger. The Antikythera mechanism uses a specific mathematical model for lunar motion that matches calculations from the Greek colony of Syracuse, Archimedes' home city. And the shipwreck itself was sailing from the Greek world toward Rome, carrying looted treasure. Could this mechanism have been built by Archimedes himself? Or by students who learned from his work? We cannot say for certain. But this much is clear: someone in the ancient world possessed knowledge so advanced that it took modern civilization almost 2,000 years to catch up. Now let me put something in perspective that changes everything about this story. In 2005, an international team used a technique called microfocus X-ray computed tomography. Essentially, a hospital CT scanner powerful enough to see individual letters carved into bronze 2,000 years ago. What they found inside the mechanism fragments was astonishing. Over 3,000 Greek characters of text. A complete instruction manual hidden inside the device itself. These inscriptions explained not just what the mechanism calculated, but how to use it. Month names matching calendars from Corinth and Syracuse. References to astronomical cycles. Even predictions for the quality of upcoming Olympic Games based on celestial positions. But then researchers noticed something that made no sense. The craftsmanship was too good. The gear teeth were cut with tolerances of just 1 to 2 millimeters. The bronze plates were barely a millimeter thick. This level of precision requires specialized tools. Tools that supposedly did not exist in the ancient world. So what were the Greeks using? And this is the revelation that finally answers the question we started with. The ancient Greeks did not stumble onto this technology by accident. They developed it through centuries of accumulated knowledge. We now know that the Antikythera mechanism represents the peak of a long tradition of Greek astronomical instrument making. Ancient texts mention earlier devices. Simpler celestial models. Graduating in complexity over generations. The Greeks had something we often forget they possessed, a systematic approach to science and engineering that built knowledge over time. They had precision lathes for turning metal. They had specialized files and cutting tools. They had mathematical frameworks for designing gear ratios. And they had something equally important: the patience to calculate astronomical cycles spanning hundreds of years. The mechanism tracks the Metonic cycle, a 19-year pattern where lunar phases repeat on the same calendar dates. It tracks the Saros cycle for eclipse prediction spanning 18 years. It even tracks the Callippic cycle of 76 years. This was not primitive technology. This was the accumulated wisdom of a civilization that understood the cosmos better than most people realize. So where does this leave us? The Antikythera mechanism forces us to completely reimagine what ancient civilizations were capable of. This was not an alien artifact. It was not impossible technology appearing from nowhere. It was the pinnacle of human ingenuity. Created by people who looked at the stars and refused to stop asking questions until they understood. When the Roman Empire fell, this knowledge was lost. The workshops closed. The craftsmen died. The scientific tradition broke. It would take over 1,000 years before humanity rebuilt this capability. But the mechanism survived, waiting at the bottom of the sea for us to rediscover what our ancestors had achieved. Today, working replicas of the Antikythera mechanism exist in museums around the world. Modern engineers have proven that ancient technology works exactly as designed. And every new analysis reveals details we missed before. Just last year, researchers identified a previously unknown gear that may have displayed the positions of all 5 visible planets on a single dial. 2,000 years later, this ancient computer is still teaching us new secrets. Now you understand how ancient Greeks built the world's first computer, and why that knowledge disappeared for 1400 years. If this video changed how you think about ancient technology, hit subscribe because we uncover lost knowledge like this every week. But I want to know what you think. What other ancient technology do you believe was more advanced than history books tell us? Drop your answer in the comments. Your suggestion might become our next investigation.